Hey everybody, what is going on? As you can tell by the title of this video, yet another Tamron lens. I'm telling you, this is Tamron lens month, man. We had the 28-75 G2, the 35-150 f2 to 2.8, and now the 18-300 f3.5-6.3 Di3 AVC VXD lens. How did I memorize that? I have no idea. For the Fujifilm X mount. Tamron, you can bring down the name of the lens a little bit. Nobody's gonna remember all that except us reviewers. But anyway, like all our reviews, we're not paid or sponsored unless we tell you guys, but big thanks to Tamron Singapore for providing the lens for this review, but it does go right back to them right after this recording. So with that, let's talk about the all-new Tamron 18-300 lens. As the title suggests, I am talking about the Fujifilm X mount version of this lens. Yes, there is a Sony E mount version, but we've done a lot of Sony lenses as of late, and I felt that it's more fair to review this for the Fujifilm X mount users out there, because this is the first time, as I remember it, we're seeing a large third-party manufacturer actually make an autofocus lens for the Fujifilm X mount. Now I know there's manual focus lenses out there, TT Artisans, 7 Artisans, and a variety of other companies, but I don't remember seeing a third-party lens like Tamron or like Sigma coming out with an autofocus lens for the Fujifilm X mount as of yet. But I think Sigma may be doing it in the future. That's what I'm hearing on the rumor mill. Anyway, let's talk about this bad boy real quick here. 18-300. That is a wide focal range. That's equivalent to 27 millimeters to 450 millimeters for you full frame folks out there. But this is gonna cover pretty much anything you wanna shoot, minus, like bird photography where you're gonna need like 600 or 800 millimeters, or wildlife photography or sports. But for the majority of people out there, 18-300 is got you covered. Now, you do have a slower aperture on this lens that has 3.5 to 6.3, which I will talk about in just a bit, because that to me is one of the downsides of this lens. But you gotta give Tamron credit for really pushing the boundaries in terms of the focal range, right? Now, this is a telescopic zoom lens, it's not internal zoom. I don't know if you could do an internal zoom lens from 18-300, folks. That would be a massive size lens. This is already, decent in weight, coming in at 620 grams, but because it does have a slower aperture and doesn't have so much glass inside of that thing to give you those amazing optics as you would get on a faster aperture lens, the size is pretty compact, especially for a Fujifilm camera or a Sony A-series camera for that matter. Now, this lens also does have VC or vibration compensation inside of it. So this is Tamron's sort of optical stabilization inside their lens. Now, it's not fantastic and it's not bad. It's run-of-the-mill. It will do the job, but it's not going to give you phenomenal image stabilization in your lens, okay? You're still gonna be reliant on the body. Now, depending on the body that you have for the Fujifilm system, you may already have it, let's say the X-T4 for that matter, but if you're using the XS10 and things like that, you're not going to have it. So, this is something to take in consideration when you're looking to purchase this lens. Now, you do have 19 elements in 15 groups. You also have 3 hybrid spherical elements at the side of this and low dispersion elements. I mean, the MTF charts look fantastic on this, but I don't rely on MTF charts. I actually rely on real world usage when I take images, especially with lenses such like this, because it all depends on your lighting source. It all depends on your ISO settings. And as we know with Fujifilm systems, when the ISO creeps up and you're in lower light situations, it does struggle a little bit in terms of image quality. You are going to lose a lot of that resolution power, and you're going to notice that with this lens. I'll talk about that in just a bit as well. But overall, I have to say that the build quality of this lens is very reminiscent of previous Tamron lenses we've seen on the market. It's not comparable to the G2 lens that I've talked about here, the 28-75 or the 35-150, which are the newer Tamron lenses. This has the body construction of the previous Tamron lenses, so it's more plastic in feel. It's very nondescript. I would say when you put it onto, let's say, the X-T4, even the XS10 for that matter, it doesn't necessarily match the Fujifilm design. I would have been nice if Tamron would have done more of a retro-themed vibe for this, but of course they're basically using the same lens and just changing the mount on the back of it from Sony to Fujifilm, so in that regard, I understand why they did it. But it just doesn't match some of Fujifilm's own lens designs that they make for their bodies. So just something to keep in mind. I mean, designs of lenses are it's a very personal preference on this. Some people will love a nondescript and some people want something that looks very retro. To each their own. This video is brought to you by Secret Lab. Here at Geek Culture, we love our Secret Lab chairs, especially the all-new 2022 Titan Evo with its revamped 4-way lumbar system for enhanced back support. If PU Leather 2.0 isn't your cup of tea, then consider the all-new Soft Weave, even more soft and breathable than before. The chair comes in more colors, including this lovely frost blue. The Titan Evo is even magnetized, allowing the head pillow to stick on the headrest without straps. Of course, there are even more new features, so do check them out at secretlab.co. Now let's talk about another feature that a lot of Tamron users like, and that's that close focusing distance. Right now, this is also in this 18-300. Now at its widest focal length, you're gonna get 0.15 meters close focusing, and at its farthest focal length, you're gonna get 0.99 meters. Still gonna get some great pseudo macro capabilities with this lens, and that's pretty impressive for 18-300. So Tamron has really put a lot inside of this. But now we gotta talk about performance. And this is where I think it's going to be a little bit different depending on how you're going to use this lens. Now, I know Tamron is looking at this lens as to say the all-in-one lens. You know, the one lens you're going to take with you on a trip, you know, that's going to cover you from, you know, landscape to capturing people in the distance or wildlife or some birds or maybe some sports. You get all that into this lens. However, as I mentioned earlier, that aperture is really going to take a toll on you, especially if you're not shooting in bright light conditions. Case in point, I shot an overcast with, you know, about 10 o'clock, 11 a.m. With my dog in the dog park. And, you know, the images are not that sharp. The noise is creeping in. You don't see that crispness that you're used to seeing out of Tamron lenses. And I think a lot of it's due to the aperture on this. You know, shooting at 300, it's 6.3, and that's not that great. It would have been nice to, you know, top it out at 5.6, but at 6.3, you're really pushing the sensor. And even wide open at 18 millimeters, you're only at 3.5 for the first 5 millimeters. And then you jump into, you know, f4 after that. But, you know, it's something that, I would say as a professional photographer, you may want to think twice about. It looks great on paper, but in actual usability, it's a little bit trying. Also, when it comes to the performance of this lens in terms of the focusing, it's got the VXD motors in it, so it should on paper focus really quickly. But I found that in faster action situations that this lens didn't quite nail focus as much as I thought it would compared to native Fujifilm lenses. It's not a deal breaker, but it's something that you will need to take note of. But of course, if you're shooting still subjects, you're not going to find an issue or see any issue. It's only when you're really tracking and going fast action is you're going to notice a bit of a difference with this lens versus the native lenses in that regard. The vibration compensation inside of it is actually okay. It's not class leading. It's not going to blow your mind. It will complement the body that you're using. But I would say that from the previous lenses that I've used from Tamron in terms of their vibration compensation, I don't find it to be wow, but it's okay, and I'm glad that it's there. I mean, I'd rather have it than not have it. So, and especially with an 18-300, you definitely want to have it at your longest focal range at 300 millimeters, because that's when you're going to get a lot of camera shake, you're going to get a lot of movement, and you don't want to lose a shot because of a little blur, because the lens and the body just can't stay steady. So I'm glad that it's there in that regard. So now what I want to do is I want to show you some sample images that I've taken with this 18-300 on the Fujifilm X-T4, and then I'll give you my final thoughts after that. So with that, enjoy the photos. All right, as you saw from the images, I mean, pretty decent images. I mean, nothing that's going to wow you, but this lens is not a wow lens. This is a quote unquote workhorse hobbyist lens, all round lens. It's not going to be the lens that's going to blow your mind with a beautiful bokeh on it. It's not going to blow your mind with sharpness. It's just good overall. As you saw in lower light conditions, you do lose a little bit of sharpness. Even when the subject is still, it's good enough for social media, and I think it'll be good enough for most people out there. But if you really are one of those photographers that really takes, that pixel peeps a bit and really wants pin sharp images, and you wanted something that compares to some of the newer optics coming from Fujifilm on their lenses, you're going to see that this one doesn't quite match up to that right now. As I mentioned before, great hobbyist lens. Going on a trip, don't want to carry a lot of things in your bag, want to keep it nice and easy. This is a great lens to take with you. Just don't shoot at nighttime because you may be a little bit frustrated with the noise out of it. But if you're a professional, I would definitely try it out at a camera shop, or if you do have a return policy on wherever you order from, try it and see how it works for you. For me, as if I was a pro photographer using this, I probably would opt out of it. I would look for something with a faster aperture, but that is just my personal taste. Everybody's different. But those are my thoughts on the Tamron 18-300 f3.5-6.3 DIA VC VXD lens. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Any questions you have on it, let me hit me up on that. And with that, guys, follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, like this video, helps out our channel a lot. Take care, stay safe, and I'll chat to you soon. Bye.